Hi guys, and welcome to another video where we're going to be looking at kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is something that is stored in all moving objects. And for your exam, you'll have to know how to calculate the kinetic energy store of a moving object. To calculate the store of kinetic energy, you'll need to use the following equation, where kinetic energy is equal to 0.5 times the mass of the object multiplied by the speed squared of the object. The units for speed, meters per second. The unit for mass is kilograms. And the unit for kinetic energy is always in joules. Notice that it's a capital J for joule. Now, I like to work with triangles, so I would place this equation into a triangle like this, where kinetic energy would go at the top of the triangle and 0.5 times the mass would go here, and the speed squared would go in this part of the triangle. In our first question, we're told that a 120 gram coconut falls at a speed of 6 meters per second, and we're asked to calculate the kinetic energy. Well, first things first, we write out our equation for kinetic energy, and then we can start to input some of our numbers. So we know that the mass of the coconut is 120 grams. But remember, for the kinetic energy equation to work, we have to put it into kilograms. So we would do 120 divided by 1,000, and that would convert the grams into kilograms. And then we can multiply that by our speed, which is 6 meters per second squared. Now, I like to do the equations separately. So that gives me 0.5 times 0.12 multiplied by 6 squared. So all I've done here is the 120 divided by 1,000. Now we can start to work this out. Well, 0.5 times 0.12 would just give us 0.06, and 6 squared just means 6 times 6 gives us 36. If I type into my calculator 0.06 times 36, well, that gives us a kinetic energy of 2.16 joules. Notice in this question that I had to convert from grams to kilograms. Pause the video, have a go at calculating the mass of the car. Okay, well, first of all, remember our equation. Kinetic energy is equal to half of the mass times the speed squared. Using the triangle, I know that kinetic energy divided by the speed squared gives me 0.5 times the mass. The kinetic energy here is 60 kilojoules. 60 kilojoules just means 60,000. So I have to multiply the 60 by 1,000. So 60 times 1,000 equals 60,000 joules. And if I look at my triangle, if I do the kinetic energy divided by the speed squared, I'll be given half of the mass. So I want to do 60,000 divided by 2.5 squared. In other words, 60,000 divided by 6.25, because 2.5 squared is equal to 6.25. This would give us a value of 9,600. Now remember, this value here is equivalent to half of the mass. So to get the mass of the car, we have to multiply this number by 2. That means the mass of the car is 19,200 kilograms. And this time, you're asked to calculate the speed of the train. You will need to use the triangle technique to work out the speed. Pause the video and have a go. Okay, well, we already know from previous questions, we've seen it enough, where the kinetic energy is speed squared and half of the mass. So in this question, we're given the kinetic energy and we're also given the mass. So to work out the speed squared, it's going to be equal to the kinetic energy divided by 0.5 times mass. To substitute the numbers in, the kinetic energy is 20 joules and 0.5 times 10, as that's the mass of the train. So in other words, this becomes 20 divided by 5. 20 divided by 5 is 4. So v squared, or the speed squared, is equal to 4. But remember, we want the speed and not speed squared. So we have to square root both sides. And that gives us v is equal to 2 meters per second. Remember guys, if you want more questions, check out our website in the description. Thanks for watching.